Hi, welcome to The Sacred Journey. The Sacred Journey is the program that reminds you that life is a wonderful adventure. Each and every experience we have is a unique and perfect opportunity for learning. I'm Joyce St. Germaine, and tonight's program, Rattles Ancient Tools for Modern Times. I have, as you can see, an array of rattles, and I'm going to talk a little bit about them. Historically, we think of rattles as being a toy for babies. But the use of rattles is a shamanic thing, and it goes back, well, we know shamanism goes back nearly 100,000 years. We have evidence it goes back 60,000 years, but we think based on cave painting drawings and things that are depicted in them, like ceremony, we believe that shamanism has existed for about 100,000 years. It crosses all cultures, and one of the things that defines shamanism is the ability of the shaman or the shamanic practitioner to access what is known as non-ordinary reality. Non-ordinary reality generally is divided into three worlds: the lower worlds, the middle worlds, and the upper worlds. The shaman or shamanic practitioner, I use those terms kind of interchangeably, will access these worlds through a variety of ways. I will be talking about one of those ways, through sound, through vibration, through repetitive sound, very commonly at 4 beats a second, and it's not that anyone's counting, but it's a sensation that you can feel. When you have this expanded awareness, you then have access to non-ordinary reality. I'll use that word, but let me stop a little bit and explain what it is. Non-ordinary reality is a level of consciousness that is very different than here, but yet in some ways comfortable and familiar. There are helping spirits that have to do with water and fire and all the elements and plants and animals and ancestors, and just about everything you can imagine in spirit exists in non-ordinary reality. Why would we want to access non-ordinary reality? To do work that would benefit ordinary reality, if you'll allow me to say, the physical planes. We might go to learn. We might go to ask for the aid of a helping spirit. We might go for a variety of reasons. We might go for self. We might go on behalf of someone. We might go on behalf of community. We might go on a more global quest. So rattles are like drums in that they will help change brain waves, but tonight's presentation is just about rattles, but we will talk another time about drums, so stay tuned for that. I'll show you a few different rattles, and I'd like you to try to listen to them, for everyone responds to different rattles differently. I have some rattles that I consider my favorites, not just because of how they sound, but because of how they feel. They're made out of a variety of different things from many different parts of the world, and some I have made myself, and at the end I'll show you how you can make a very simple rattle. Let me talk a little bit first about brainwaves. Our normal waking state is beta. We need beta, so we don't want to look down, our noses at it like, oh, that's not a very high level of consciousness. We need beta because it helps you to make decisions, it keeps you safe, it helps you to be consciously aware of your life, and that is important. The next level is alpha. Alpha is that daydreaming kind of state. It's a very creative state. The next state is theta. Theta is even deeper still than alpha, with much more expanded awareness and an actual heightened consciousness. That is what we hope to achieve during shamanic rattling. And the final stage that we'll talk about tonight is delta. Very, very deep sleep, a very deep level of consciousness. We go into it only during very deep sleep cycles, and it's believed that that's the only state that the body can repair itself. And also it's believed that shamans who were born into the practice and have practiced their entire lives can go into delta at will, and they seemingly do not age. But I'd like to share different types of rattles with you and talk a little bit about the intention behind it. Each of the rattles that I have, and you can see I have an array and many more that I'll be sharing with you, and some won't get to be introduced tonight because I have too many. They have different purposes, and I go to them for different reasons. When I choose a rattle and when I make a rattle, I go by how it feels, not by how it sounds. When I say feel, I don't mean how it feels in my hand. I mean how I feel and how I respond to it being used. The first one that I ever made is made out of rawhide. Rawhide is a very common material, especially in Native American rattles and rattles where rawhide is available. Rawhide is worked with wet and it's very flexible at the time. When I made this, I was pretty inexperienced, but the way that this was made was when it was wet, and when it was dry, it took its form. But I wanted to show that the decorative parts of it have great meaning to me. I honored the 4 cardinal points. I did the circles around it that to me represented that everything is cyclical. One day after another, 1 hour after another, 1 lifetime after another. I chose the lizard because lizard, as you know, is, well, it's an important animal to me. Each animal has a medicine. I'm trying to cram a lot into tonight's show, so I'll try not to forget anything, so I'll not leave you hanging. The medicine of the animal is what we learn from it, what its characteristics or its unique gifts are. Lizard is the keeper of the dream time. Lizard helps us do interdimensional travel. I have an affinity for lizard medicine, so I decided to use lizard. Now this stick is one that I found when I was hiking, so even the handle of it has meaning to me, and it has some teeth marks from beaver, so it has beaver medicine. Beaver is the medicine of the builder. To create something, you have to build 1 step at a time, at a time, at a time, until finally you have the product that you need, or whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, but you always need to have a backup plan. So beavers will build an escape route right into their lodge, so if a predator comes in, they go out the escape route while the predator is trying to find them. What you put inside your rattle is equally meaningful. I have pebbles in here, and some of the pebbles are from a fire ant from when I was traveling in the Southwest. And ant medicine is the medicine of industriousness. If their ant home gets stepped on after however many days it took them to build it, they just rebuild it. I have rabbit fur here, and rabbit is the medicine of fear, reminding us that if we're afraid of something, it's because we don't yet know and understand it. And I have otter. Otter is about playfulness, remembering to take time to play, to be lighthearted. Oh, finally, I have wild turkey. Turkey's the medicine of giveaway, the medicine of sharing, the medicine of community. This is in need of a little bit of repair, so some of the little pebbles might be falling out, but it has a softer sound than I now use. I now like sort of harder, more distinct sounds for most of my journeying. But this one has special meaning because it was the first one that I created. This is elk rawhide, so the medicine of elk is stamina. Another type of rattle are shell rattles. Now these are both cowrie shells, and they were bought at 2 different places and 2 different times, and 2 very distinctively different sounds. I prefer this one because it's louder, and you get the secondary sound of the little metal combs hitting each other. This actually has BBs in it. This also has BBs and some beads in it, but it's a very soft sound. And this doesn't have the secondary sound of the combs. In some cultures, especially the African cultures or countries, we might find flattened out bottle caps and a tree, a little branch usually with a Y-shaped opening. So this has an entirely different sound. So it might not be used for journeying as much as some of the other rattles, but I wanted to show it because it's one of the few I have with metal on it. Ceramic. These have a lot of earth medicine because they're made out of clay, but they were fired using seaweed in a big pit by the ocean. So it has ocean medicine, which means a lot of negative ions, which are good things. They're very restorative. And it has the natural charring of when the seaweed got burned right into it. So I bought 2 of these because there are times that I use 2 at a time to do energy healing. So this wouldn't be a journeying. It sounds a little bit too soft for journeying, and it also is a little bit heavy. You'll find that some times they're a little bit too heavy. Here's a perfect example. This was a beautiful gift of an ostrich shell, an ostrich egg, which was painstakingly and beautifully decorated by hand. It has deer medicine. It has an antler. Deer is the medicine of gentleness. It has bobcat. Bobcat's a lot like lynx in that it's the medicine of secrets, knowing when to keep something in confidence and when it's too risky to do so, that someone needs help and they need you to be their advocate. And it also has a wolf tooth. So the wolf is the medicine of love and the medicine of teaching. But this is so heavy I can't use it for long periods of time. You can hear how hard it is. So it's very heavy and I can't rattle for a long period of time. So again, I use this for different healing sessions and not for journeying. I talked about journeying. A healing session, you might use a rattle to clear space, to invoke healing spirits, to rebalance someone's energy, but a lot of different ways it would be used. This is one of my favorites. It's very, very lightweight, very durable. It's not fragile at all. It's made out of wood, and I believe there are seeds inside, but I don't know because I didn't make it. But I love that it's so portable, and I love the sound of it. I'm going to rattle for just a few moments, and I invite you to close your eyes and just notice how it feels. You might get a sense after about 30 seconds of an expanded awareness. Now, keep your eyes closed and see if you don't have a sense of your awareness expanding. Right in front of the camera, I am noticing that, which is one of the reasons I love rattles. By the way, rattles are sometimes advantageous to using drums because they're portable. They're lightweight and usually not as fragile as a drum, and they don't respond to temperature changes and humidity changes like a drum would. So this is one of my favorites, and it travels with me a lot. This is another one of my favorite, and it's made out of juniper. And they have a kind of a big brother to it that's made out of cherry. Each wood has a different medicine. Cherry is love and new beginnings and compassion. But the juniper one I'm very fond of because it's so little and it has such a strong and powerful sound. This has BBs in it, and by the way, if you haven't opened your eyes again from the last time I asked you to close them, feel free to, because this one is absolutely beautiful and lovely, and it has all the natural life of the wood and all the things that this little juniper tree has been through. But you can probably understand why I love this one so much. Another one of my favorites that I travel with a lot, and I've probably had in use at least as long as any of them here. I'd love to say I made this one, but I did not. This is very heavy buffalo hide. Buffalo is the medicine of prayer and abundance. You will always have everything you need, and you always should be grateful for whatever it is you have. I love this one because it has a quartz point on it. And quartz is a transmitter, a receiver, and an amplifier. Quartz has a negative end and a positive end, so a sending end and a receiving end. This is the sending end. The receiving end is what is entering the body of the rattle. And I neglected to tell you that, generally speaking, the body of the rattle, of these types of rattles, is feminine because it resembles the womb. Only when it has a handle on it of some sort does it have a masculine part. So this embodies the masculine and the feminine, where this is just the feminine. This is just the feminine. This is masculine and feminine, so you see the difference. So I use this one a great deal. And every rattle, when it's used shamanically, is used with intention. Whatever your intention is, gets transmitted through the rattle, and because of the sound and how sound waves go out in 7th grade, we learned they, just kind of go like this, but we know that they spread out in a very broad way. It carries your intention, it carries your prayers, and it also creates sound so that your prayers can be heard. They now are audible. This is an interesting one in that it was rawhide and made in 3 parts. 1, 2, 3. So it could represent past, present, future, body, mind, spirit. It's a little bit thinner and not as durable as this, so I wouldn't travel with this as much, but I love the fact that, and this is elk, by the way, that it has a deer handle, and it also has turquoise. Turquoise medicine of that particular stone is that it helps you to know that you're a part of the earth, not a part from the earth. Turtle shell rattles are very popular. This is an antique one that needs some repair, so I'm not going to vigorously shake it. But it has the medicine of turtle, and turtle represents the earth and our closeness to it and the fact that we are a part of it. This is the female part of it. This is the male part of it. And this, I can't be sure, but I'm thinking it might be elk or caribou, but I'm just taking a guess. It looks like elk just because of the texture here. It has also elk skin around it, which was put on when it was wet, so it dried and shrunk. But you can hear the sound is very strong. Normally I would use it the other way, but there's little metal pieces inside that are starting to fall out, so I have to repair this. And another type of rattle is they're little tiny seed pods, and what's inside them, my guess, is that it's very fine, like sand, like pebbles, like rice. Very gentle, soft sound. Gourd rattles are also very popular, and each one will sound different. This is a single gourd, and I feel, or by listening to it, I think it has some metal in it, but I can't say for sure. There's something in it that gives it a hard, sharp sound, which I like. And this is a triple gourd rattle, the 3 different gourds. And I purchased 2 of them because sometimes I use 2 at a time for healing. type of rattle. It's more of a shaker style. I have two here and I'll share them with you separately. The first one is a deer toe rattle. Now, sometimes people at first seem alarmed, like, ooh, that has skin on it, or it has antler. Well, most of the time the antlers are naturally shed, but the skin, I try to buy rattles in materials that were gathered or harvested with integrity, meaning the animal was hunted for food. Although I'm a vegetarian, I know everyone else is not, and that's perfectly okay. But if this animal was used to create sustenance for someone or a family, I'm honored to be the one to give this animal its voice back. So it's believed when you make an instrument out of animal parts that you had the honor of giving the animal its voice back, and it might completely change the way you view using animal parts. The deer toes cannot be used for anything else other than that I know of as for making sound. So this is all the medicine of deer because it's an antler and deer toes. And what I like so much about this one is if you look at the beautiful patterns, you have a blue bead, you have a series of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 white beads, a red bead, a silver bead, a red bead. Every single one of these is the same. So this artist went through a lot of time and energy and care to make them all the same. Then, if you look at the hanger, you will see that you have a pattern of so many whites with a red, so many whites with a red, so many whites with a red, and then so many whites with a blue. It is not that this artist ran out of red or stopped paying attention. When you have repetitive work, usually done in beads, you have sometimes an opportunity for a spirit bead. A spirit bead by this artist was their way of saying, I am humble, I am only human, only great spirit or creator or Tankashala or Wankantanka, whatever you choose to call God or your, whatever you believe is the highest and greatest thing that exists or being that exists. You would do something like that to remain humble. So I always point that out because I think that's pretty important. Okay, this one has, as you can see, much larger toes and also a carving on the end, which you may not be able to see on camera, of a turtle. So this artist also brought turtle medicine into the medicine, and you can hear that these sound quite different from each other and from all the other types that I've shown you. So I might use this to open a circle. I might use this to seal in energy that I've just transferred to someone. Pardon me. Maybe that will get edited out. Maybe not. So I would use shaker rattles, and especially this larger one, to maybe set a circle, clear space, or even to seal an energy that I've just transferred to someone. So many things to share. I think what I'd like to share now is a way that you can make your own rattles. You could use it for journeying. You could use it for expanded awareness. You could use it to go into a meditative state or a receptive state. These are very, very simple to make. And I'll share the materials and the sound. If you notice, the sound seems to circulate through this bottle. And what this is an aquapod bottle, which is a rounded water bottle. Inside are popcorn kernels, unpopped of course, popcorn kernels. And I use this a lot in my rattles, as you can tell by the size of the popcorn containers that I buy, large popcorn containers. I like popcorn better than rice because rice will crumble after a while. Popcorn's a gift from the earth. As you know, corn is a gift from the earth, and it's used in ceremony very often. I also sometimes add things that are meaningful, like a tuft of my late cat's fur, when he would shed his claws, maybe a claw, a lock of hair from someone that's important to you, whether they're in spirit or alive, something meaningful. Now, I usually try to use natural materials, but I'm also a believer in recycling and repurposing things. So I just took an aquapod and I put about maybe a quarter full, maybe a third, more likely a quarter of popcorn kernels, and then I tested the sound. And I like the way it sounds, but I also like the way it feels. And then I just took a colorful fabric napkin, tucked it inside. If you need to be quick, you can fashion it with a rubber band. Or if not, you can tie yarn around it and hang beads and feathers and make it even more attractive than that. This is a glass bottle and I was hesitant to use it, but then something surprising happened. I put popcorn in it. I was getting a secondary sound of when the popcorn hit the plastic. So I have the sound of the tingling against the glass, but I also have the clicking. Now, it's not very attractive, my vitamin bottle, so I will either paper mache around it so I can hand paint it, or I'll put cloth around it. But I'm surprised that I like the sound. It's a little heavier than the plastic ones, but it was a pleasant surprise. One last thing I completely forgot about. It's really important to honor these as sacred objects. That means if you are going to make a rattle, you will want to smudge your materials by earth, air, fire, and water. And you will also want to, when the rattle is completed, to smudge it, to pass it through the sacred smoke. And any one that you would buy, you would do the same thing, and you would treat them like honored guests and honored partners, so that you would put them in a wonderful place. You might even create a pouch or something for them. So there's so many types that you can make of rattles. There's so many uses for them. What I would like to do is invite you to explore a little bit, to experiment a little bit, and I'm going to help you to end, if it's evening or afternoon or morning, to end our time together by inviting you to close your eyes. And I think I'll take my partner that I use most often, and I'll guide you out. So thanks for joining us on the sacred journey. We'll catch you next time. We'll catch you next time.